I've been following you probably close to when you started because I feel like whenever I really took this seriously was probably 2018, 2019. My first book wasn't published till 2020. And I think
Mm,
that's when you started to really like hop into the scene. And then you've just like grown pretty exponentially since then. And I really wanted you to just fill everybody in on the whole story of
mhm.
Afterlight and how you
Yeah.
started, the same as I've seen your Instagram reels and stuff like that. They're really awesome and inspiring. And then I wanted to mention up to today, a really awesome artist that goes by Brow. I saw
Mm,
that he had a book under your title, and now
yeah.
everybody's coming up to me. Anybody that writes horror that's into comics is like, "Hey, do you know the guys at Afterlight? Like, how do I get with them?" And I'm like, I have him coming on the channel. Like, let's find out. Like, what's he looking for? Because you have really solid. All the covers look amazing. All the artwork looks amazing. All it's so brand niche. It's like just such on point of like if you write horror comics, everybody wants to be with you because it's just so well put together. And I
Oh,
just want to
appreciate
know
it.
how did you build this from nothing?
Yeah, yeah. So a bit about me. I started. It's funny we were talking about YouTube early on. Around 2005, I was around 15 years old, and I just parents brought back like a little handy cam from Las Vegas. They'd been on a trip to Las Vegas, and it was like one of those square kind of like record on an S micro SD card. And I just, I always had a bit of an imagination. I just like I'd go with friends on a weekend to like Liverpool. And I just made up a film on the spot, like called The Pickpocket, and just filmed like two of my friends, just like a chase scene, somebody doing a mugging kind of thing, and put some funny music to it, and then put it together, and they liked it, and then it just snowballed on from there. Then, and as like it got a bit more serious, I was taking like doing more kind of like serious kind of short films. The one was like a psychological horror, a short film I made entirely by myself, and it was nominated for Young Person's BAFTA Award in 2008 then, which I would have been 18. Um,
Wow.
and then won a film festival, which gave us £5,000 to then make another short film. That was in Leicester Square, and Daniel Craig was one of the judges and all that. So it really like gave me
Cool.
kind of inspiration, like "Oh, maybe I'm kind of good at this, like
Yeah.
um and so the idea was for me to go to, so the UK wasn't great for kind of breaking into the film industry. There wasn't many opportunities. So I looked to like America or Canada, and I edged to Canada because I was just like seeing all these like film shoots in Toronto and stuff. So my
Yeah.
idea was to like save money up at this shelf stacking job. Um, to go up, I needed like £2,000 to get a working visa to go to Canada. So I worked at this shelf stacking job, got the money, got the visa, and then this job came up in a car factory. Pay was like quadruple what I was gonna what I was on at this shelf stacking job. And I was like, shit, I could save up a bit more money, to take to Canada and like have a bit more to fall on. And so that taking that job turned from just like saving up for a year to like 8, 9, 10 years at that car factory. I managed to get an apartment, I got a car. I was like, living a bit comfortably, but it was just like obviously not satisfying. You kind of like had to sell your kind of soul to like get the paycheck, and
Yeah.
it was just like soul destroying. And, obviously coming from that filmmaking, I had that creative spark. It was like dwindling away. And just in 2016, I think, so I'm like 5, 6 years into the job, I read Walking Dead comic, which really opened my eyes to like comics wasn't just superheroes anymore. It was like you
Yeah.
could do horror and like really grounded world and stuff. So then I came up with my first story idea, Ghost Island, which is my first comic series, and it's basically Jurassic Park but with ghosts, which was like 6 issue series. And so what I would do is like I'd have like there'd be like these printed codes for like these parts that'd be loading into the this robot. Press the button, and then like I'd have like 60 seconds to like just write some notes down, on the back of these receipts for story ideas or scripts. And then I'd take all those receipts home and write, type it up later on in the evening or whatever time I got in, and then just make those scripts, then hire an artist, and then have it all put together. Did my first Kickstarter, and then in my first year of making that comic, I'd booked like conventions for the next year in the UK, like to be attending. I was like, I build it and they'll come. Like I thought, gonna sell out, gonna do it's gonna be an ongoing series, gonna go to 100 like Walking Dead. And so I did 29 comic conventions in that first year whilst holding
Dang.
down this full-time job. I was like traveling like hours and hours, like I'd finish work on a Thursday like 11 p.m. at night and then get a coach from Liverpool to London, arrive at London and like 5 a.m., then have to get a taxi with these big suitcases with like hundreds of books and think I'm going to sell
Oh
out more or
man.
less. And then get to London, set up, no sleep on the Friday, just power through, and then all the way to Sunday, like the convention. And obviously, I learned a lot in that first year, and I feel like I had to do it, to learn. But yeah, skip fast forward. 2020 was the year that I like took the leap. It was during um like going at this full time because I built up quite a following on Kickstarter and over the years, and I was like, this is the time to like just if I'm going to do it, do it now. And then I handed in my notice at the job, and then right round the corner, COVID happened, and I was like, what I was hoping to make money at conventions and stuff like that. I was like, shit, that has just been obviously we were on lockdown. There's no convention appearances, nothing for the year. I was like, well, everyone was canceling their Kickstarters, and I was like, got no other else to do. I just got to keep plowing through. And like that year of 2020 was Kickstarters is probably like some of the best campaigns we had because we
At
needed people
home,
needed
yeah.
entertainment, and people were shutting
Yeah.
things down. I was like uncertain and stuff. It's like I just had to go for it and just keep going with it. And touch wood, like we're 6 years. That was 6 years ago now, and just continued like to go up just from plowing forward and just being consistent with everything since then. But I'm sorry, that was kind of the short
No,
version
yeah.
of everything.
That's what I wanted to hear. That's a My story is very similar in the sense that in high school eras, like, I was all about trying to make movies and had like a little bit of local success and inspiration and stuff. And then I got, um, not tricked's the wrong word, but basically
Mm,
just you get a paycheck or get an offer that's basically double what you made when you're broke. And
mm,
you just like, oh, everything can change. And you still have the vision of, I'm going to use that to make my movie or my bigger thing. And then life happens. And the next thing you know, you're like adulting and you sort of start to forget about the initial dream you had. And then we both start to basically go back and take
mm.
advantage. But you took the full leap and just said, I'm going for it in
Yeah.
2020. So then once you took the leap and dove in, when did you start to really, so actually to back up a minute, it's
Yeah.
like I want to say so you're writing these scripts, you're initially publishing all books that you wrote, all scripted, and are they all Ghost Island, like super high concept horror?
So they went back to back. So I did Ghost Island 1, then I did Ghost Island 2, and then I did like this kind of dystopian sci-fi graphic novel. It was called 2084, The New Order. It was like kind of a more futuristic version of 1984, set in the UK about like the divide between the rich and the poor and districts being built and stuff. And then I think I did Folk Tales of the Cryptids, which is like a short story cryptid anthology, because I was kind of like getting the idea here, like, okay, Ghost Island is obviously when I was telling you about before about I thought Ghost Island was going to be an ongoing series to like 100, blah blah blah. I was very naive to how much things cost. You know how
Yeah,
much things
yeah.
added up to. Like the first issue of Ghost Island was 48 pages. Like I got to 24 pages and they hadn't even got to the island where all the ghosts are being held there. So I was thinking, oh, it's got to, go on. Luckily it was black and white, so that saved a bit of money. But yeah, so then I was like, I was trying the issues were still like extended. So second issue was 35 pages, and then the third issue was going to be again 40 pages. So in between that, I was doing like trying to do shorter things. So Folk Tales of the Cryptids come about, which was like I was trying to do more self-contained, like, and also hone my practice a bit more as well, like short stories based on cryptid folklore. So like the Mothman, Momo Man, which is a bit like Bigfoot, and they had to be 6 pages each, based on a cryptid, and that would be 24 pages then. And that was really popular, so did that, and then that started off Wendigo Wood, which is another cryptid folk horror series. So then they proved really popular, so that kind of like gained some momentum in terms of raising funds then, and gave me a bit more confidence. But my third issue for Ghost Island actually failed because this is again being naive. Like I thought building up to that point, it could get funded because I was trying to do another 40 issue book, which was costing, nearly £5,000 for me to raise. And the audience to ratio of the funds I needed was not there yet. I'd only been doing this 18 months, and to ask, that amount and to get that amount was two different things. So it was again learning curve. I then split the book into two. So it became a 5 issue series. Went from a 5 issue series to a 6 issue series. So I like adapted, launched straight away
Yeah.
like the week later, and it was funded within, 2, 3 days. So it didn't put a complete, halt. I was like, because it was so gutting as well, like you put all this energy, effort, and I was still early to the game, and to take that bit of a gut punch that something didn't work out. It was another big learning curve for me. Um, but like again, I think with publishing, you just have to lick your wounds a lot of times, and you just gotta, keep plowing forward, like I've always done, with the things that come your way and are blows to you. So
Yeah, as everybody talks about in this is like I always give my own addendum to this statement, but they say like just stay in the game, and that's how you last, and like eventually after 10, 20 years everybody makes it. And I always like say that's only true if you're at least somewhat good. Like I know plenty of people that do this forever and never have any form of like tangible success because they were never really good at it.
Hmm. It
Not
shows.
just comics, but
Is this, there's a talent, there's a talent, isn't there? You got to have a bit of the talent to make. And at the end of the day, selling comics, people have to enjoy the actual story and what you're putting out for them to come back again, right? For you to retain that readership and for it to grow. That's the kind of ethos that I like to try and pride myself on. That it is kind of high concept. It's stories well told. There's twists. There's horror. There's the production value of the books. When you feel them, the quality of them. I think it's still a fair price point as well for the comics that we sell, um, against some of the bigger publishers also. And they know, they're going to get something good. I feel like it built up to that point that there's they are when they part with their money, they're going to get something quality in return, and that's always something that I've basically I'm always aiming for something I would want to buy or something I would want to see. If I'm not going to buy it, if I wouldn't buy it or want to see that, I'm not going to be able to sell that or get behind it and, full force kind of want to see that as well. I always put myself in the feet shoes of the reader or the fan kind of thing. I
yeah.
think that's what a lot of people should do, not obviously you want to tell your own story. I'm telling my own stories because that's the stories I want to tell, but feel because I do go to a lot of conventions, talk to a lot of people. I feel like I know the kind of, the horror that they want to see or want to get on, what they like the look of most of the time, and the feedback that I get.
No, yeah, that makes sense that being in the cut, like doing all those conventions at your start, is where you get like the real hands-on, what do people want? And that's something I learned, not until like my third year really in comics, whenever I realized how important really the convention scenes were, just to understand like that's where your audience goes. Like
Mm,
there's the comic shops and there's conventions, and then everything else is online. And if you start online, you sort of get, you put into your own bubbles to where you're sort of filtering your own thought process of what people want based upon just one subsection of the online community. You're not seeing the broad spectrum of just watching everybody that comes in, because I don't know. So that's cool that you saw that. I wanted to dive into more like, because I rewatched some movies that, are arguably kind of the worst era of horror was like the early 2000s. So movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Ghost Ship and 13 Ghosts. And I was rewatching some of these things, and and I was thinking like of your comics, and I was like, these were like the epitome of high concept, almost like ultra, like you said, Jurassic Park, but with ghosts. Like that's genius in itself. It's like ultra high concept horror. And there's a time period, and probably to this day, where people like love that stuff. And I think part of probably like what happened with you is like if you can capture like that feeling or like that experience of like this giant concept, and then your covers and the interior art
mm,
matches that expected experience perfectly,
mm,
then virtually like you just maintain that brand. And you see that in film now even more than it was in the early 2000s of like just super, you see the poster, it's Sharknado, it's like it's obvious what it is, and everybody that's like into that like just knows that they can go to it. Back in the day it was uh now I'm blanking on it, but it was like Full Moon Features, and we just recognize the brand associated
mm,
with like companies that made those movies, and you've like taken that, and it's just like you became now that for comics, which is there's not really anything left in indie comics that's doing that. There's the some that the classics even have sort of fallen by the wayside, like heavy metal and 2000 AD. I mean, these they're still around, but they just aren't as prevalent as they were, and sort of like
mm,
establishing that brand. And you're now the new rising one. So I want to now dive into like when did you start to see sort of the arc switch in a sense to where you were getting more and more followers to your Kickstarter campaigns, and like what were you doing or what did you see that really like broke the mold where it was like now I'm like my audience is like growing on its own or something, or like to where it just sort of took a life of its own as opposed to trying to get every new backer yourself.
mm. I think obviously what you're saying there about being known for that one thing, I think it really helps that I did find the niche. The niche was always going to be horror for me. That was, and when I was looking around, because I was looking myself to find horror comics, and I couldn't find a publisher really doing it to the extent that I would like to do it. So that was where I felt like you know, that's what I wanted to do basically. It was after the first year of making them Ghost Island and stuff. I was like, okay, let's not just be known as Ghost, the guy that wrote Ghost Island, but be something that people can find, and that was going to be Afterlight Comics, a horror comics publishing house. Um, but like I said, that year in COVID, that where people weren't a lot of people were canceling their Kickstarters and thing. The pool was like thinning out and helping me a lot, I suppose, as well. The people that were sticking by it and just, keeping on going, because there was a lot of uncertainty for people's how they were going to launch or their campaign. So I think in 2020 I did I must have done about six or seven, maybe six Kickstarters in that year. And
Dang.
yeah, well. I do. I've done 12 Kickstarters a year for the last 2 years now, so that feels like a breeze now. But yeah, there's six Kickstarters. I think just like being consistent. It was at a time where there was a lot of people just trying to find new entertainment, and because I was fulfilling them within a month, maybe. It was showing you that, you can build trust in Afterlight Comics as well. We're always going to fulfill a campaign. I've always fulfilled a campaign. I've done 60, 69 Kickstarter campaigns now. And back then it will have been around 40 odd. So I always try and publicize that, people that are new to the platform, that they can trust. I think building that trust with the backers that are coming on, always communicating on the updates, what's happening, even if a problem arises, just put your hands up and say, like, this is what's happening. People will respect that and, trust you in the future going forward that so a problem comes, you'll sort it and we'll get it in the end. It's okay. Um, so really, as I say, doing those six Kickstarters in that year when it was like fish in a barrel, like people just backing things for just wanting to get something new because films weren't coming out and stuff were they either, and so it's like people just looking for entertainment. And then it the bubble kind of burst in 20 after 2020, like not as many backers were around, but I look at it today and like I seen there's like 280 live campaigns on Kickstarter right now for the comics category. And
Huh.
back when was starting, it was around 180. So that's an extra 100 Kickstarters. So
Yeah.
it did help me. So those people that were coming in through Kickstarter organically, I always asked them about coming onto the newsletter so they can go, be notified of new Kickstarter campaigns. I've done that from day one. When I was at those 29 conventions, I had a clipboard, pen and paper, and I would take down the emails, like if you want to follow the series, because this is the thing. People go to a convention, pick up a book, and they never know where to get it, or just put it away. Whereas if you get
Yeah.
the email list, or like let them know every month what I'm working on, what's happening with the series, blah blah blah. And I've done that since day one, and I've done that since we collect them post Kickstarter. I don't do collect emails really at conventions anymore because we have so much stuff now. We have QR codes, we have things
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and that is everything's in the back of the book. And I feel like because we've established like a bit of a social media presence now as well, with Instagram, there's like 25,000 followers, TikTok, 1,000 plus, Twitter, all of those things. But it
Yeah.
really helped in the early days, I think, getting those foundations because you need those people to come out the gates for your Kickstarters to be successful, like yourself, Max, that like the first 24, 48 hours are some of the most crucial moments of a Kickstarter, and then in the there's dead periods and then you've got the end of it. So you need those people that are passionate about it, that are gonna look at your newsletters and want to know what's happening with the series, like to see the behind the scenes of, what all the graphics going on and like to know what's happening first, maybe some exclusive deals, things like that. And I think the last 12 months, last 7, 8 months, Facebook marketing has been huge, like for direct sales now as well. So I basically just watched so many YouTube videos, basically on Facebook marketing and got clued up on it. Had one of our best months, and then Facebook Meta did a huge update and changed the whole whole system. So
Yeah.
everything that is called Andronema now, and but it's easier for people to get involved in. But the method before was just like, wow, this is great. But I was had to learn everything again. But it's still being consistent, thankfully. But learning that has been massive. We're selling out of editions of books now, and going on the third print run of some series as well, which is great, which is crazy. For we at the end of the day, we are still independent. I'm doing all of this right behind the scenes. The only things I don't do is like the artwork, obviously, and but I'll do like the book design, I'll do the marketing, I'll do the see all the books behind me this side and then that side. I'll pack everything. Do the Kickstarters, the fulfillment, conventions. So it's a lot of work, and some evenings I spend packing and shipping books, and in the day I'll operate things. But Yeah, sorry, I'm droning on. Your question.
No, please, yeah. There are a couple of things I want to highlight there. Number one was a simple thing that you mentioned almost in passing, that is that you were putting the QR codes in the back of your books, which I remember hearing that a long time ago whenever before I was writing comics, I was writing novels and stuff, and everybody said you have to write a series and you have to put like the link to your website in the back of the book and have a date of when the next book will come out and like it but and it works. The other
Yeah.
thing I wanted to mention is I think another aspect to your success has been really just that from the get-go, you went all in. And because you did that, you use Kickstarter truly as just almost like a pre-order platform, not as or almost exactly as it's intended, where you were using the funds to fund the book, but you were immediately fulfilling it and then starting the next one and then fulfilling that, using it like a real publisher. Like
Mm.
we're
Yeah.
funding this, releasing the next one, on to the next, and then getting insight and so and then you running the whole thing. Um, Allows you to have, obviously all the work, but also all the control. And you're seeing every facet of what's working, what's not, pivoting, doing what needs to be done next, dropping something that wasn't working, going heavier on one of the titles that is.
Mhm.
Um, it, and that's really cool. I feel like that's your story is like the ultimate of us in independent comics of like you just do this full time the
Mm.
way you want to do it and you didn't have anything no real special sauce, no one invested in you, no there wasn't like some kind of secret benefactor and like
No.
it's like nope,
I
you just
wish.
took the risk, win 100%.
No, I wish there was a secret investor or something like that. That'd be great. But then, you lose, I've talked to my wife about that, like, it'd be great to get an investor of some sort, but she's like, one, you don't need one, and then two, you'd lose a certain amount of control and things like that. So, yeah, there's that as well. So I think that's been the best thing though as well, like growing organically, not kind of like I've seen a publisher in the UK come and go because they did have possibly some funding and they didn't know like how things worked, and it was just like they blew all the money on the art and the artists and things like this, and just didn't match with the like what I was saying earlier, the audience wasn't there to capture the funds they were like throwing into production and things
Yeah.
and expecting this return. And they just like went bust, which is with any publisher is sad to say. But I think, like I say, like just doing this organically from book by book, basically instead of brick by brick, it's book by book, like um yeah.
Well, now it has me, thinking it's like if you I've seen so many fail, like, and I've, and so, and to see you succeed, it's like to all of us on the outside, it's obvious why. It's like because you establish a brand,
Mm,
tap to it, and what your brand was you figured out how to step by step, book by book, maintain, earn a profit with comic books.
mhm,
You didn't have to make a profit by not necessarily scamming, but like using some kind of outside method, relying on turning books into movies or whatever, which is a lot of in the United States, that's the pipeline that publishers take, is that
mm,
they never fully established an audience like purely on their own based upon their brand. They have
mm,
one title that worked, and when that title's done, they don't have something new to fulfill it because their titles aren't associated with a niche or a genre or a brand. They try to be, but in the end, it's like, and then they try to, second satisfy that through some other methods of we're gonna just re-release the same title but with a different, different variant covers, or we're going to try to whatever they do, some kind of alternative method that's not just the core. I have series that make money
Mhm.
through my audience buying books,
Yeah.
but that makes
And
me wonder with your kind of, next steps in a way, or even what you're currently doing, like how are you handling um sort of demand I'm sure you have at least some of like outside people that are looking to turn the IP of Afterlight, either stuff you wrote or other people's books, into other media. Have you had to try to, work with an agency or hire a lawyer or anything, or how are you handling that?
so I'm actively looking now and working with producers in the UK and LA in terms of adapting some of our titles. Like that's part of, being under the umbrella of Afterlight, like if you're gonna come with us, if I'm gonna approach producers and stuff like that, I'm gonna put your stuff forward too. In the line because we're creator owned friendly. So whoever comes in and if there was like a film deal with one of their books, that's all theirs. They get all that. I see it as the benefit of if something happens with that and their book turns into a film, people want to learn more. The film comes out, they want to learn more about the story. They can come to us and buy the book. That's kind of how I see it. Um, but I'm also looking at bringing in IP to Afterlight Comics. So I've been got a few pitches and in talks with the Universal Group with some horror IP and some other studios that had like Dream IP to bring in because I can sell Afterlight as the number one UK horror comics publisher. That's what we are. And that's what I want to be around the world. Really, that's the goal. So I want to bring that into the hub. Recognized IP, and then people that have not discovered us before can see that, and then see other quality work that we do have. So it kind of works, both ways. I'm always looking at that way to expand. But we've also expanded into card games, have expanded into a board game now, which is massive, and I'll never be doing again because it's a lot of so much work. As I say,
Oh yeah.
you know how hands-on I am with everything. Like there's like 200 components with it, and I've got the bleeds and everything set up and nudging things around, proofreading it.
uh
And this is actually the box here. Yeah. It's not a small one. This is like the proof copy. Survive Tombs of the Cryptids, and it's like
Really cool.
a
Yeah,
dungeon
yeah.
crawler. And we also, to make it even more complicated for me, I got some miniatures as well, like cryptids. So just there. So you've got
Super
Mothman
badass.
here, Wendigo, Deathworm. So yeah, it's yeah, as I say, never again. So
No,
it'll
yeah,
be
that.
extremely limited edition.
Oh, I can just feel the pain of all the work that went into
And
that.
all that stuff when this been that was there was tariffs, there's all this, that and the other, and that were all
Wow.
going on, and then there was the elections ruining Facebook ads and not being able to drive traffic. So it was there's like I say, there's always problems that come up, but it's just like looking for. I honestly believe publishing is problem solving, basically, a lot of the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Storytelling is like 1%,
Yeah, exactly. That
but
the
it's good.
easy part is writing a hit story in your case. It's like,
Yeah.
no, now I have to get it to people. I have to physically make the
Yeah.
stuff. You have to ship it to people.
I think
Um,
what you were saying about what I've always done is like try and increase revenue streams in every way we can. So like the first year when I did go full time, I was doing like freelance writing for a lot of like I was doing comic strips, ghost writing comic strips a lot. I was also doing adapting people's screenplays into comic script format as well. I was helping people with that. That was really popular. Because I only did 6 Kickstarters in the first year, I did a lot of that to help with the finances as well. But I didn't necessarily enjoy it a lot because like the first year, I think I must have written like on no lie, like 150, 60 scripts like the first year. Like not like 24 pages, but some of them like three, six. Some of them are 90-page screenplays. Some of them, one was a video game script, 15,000 words.
Uh,
Um, that
I
was,
did the same thing, and I quit it at the end of last year. I was like,
yeah,
I just can't do it anymore.
it was so
It's
intense because it was like Elden Ring, kind of like the lore, kind of this fire, and it was just like I had to. It was a month and a half of work solid, and it was just so tough. It was
yeah,
fun, but it was tough.
it's serious work. And if you're doing that on top of everything else,
Mm,
and I feel bad, probably you saw like the other people on the other end, they just like us, the stuff you write is sort of the part of your life you really love. So
mm,
they get home from work and they want to know, what did I do that day? Like, how
mm,
much more did you get done? And like it's kind of all they think about. And it's like you're forgetting that like I have my job, or whatever, or I'm doing other people's scripts too. Like,
mm,
give me a second, and let me try to do this. And then, like, especially if you start to give feedback and they don't like your
mm,
feedback and adjustments, or it's just
mm.
like, okay, if you want me to just be a machine that takes and adapts what you write, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay, like, and then I'm done with it, and then it's like it's not as fun for you, and then it's not as inspiring for them, and it
Mm,
is just sort of a buzzkill for the whole experience. So
yeah.
I feel your pain there. uh what Another thing, just to back up a second, you're saying, so you're reaching out to the, like, Universal Group to possibly license like big movie IP to publish as comics in the UK or worldwide, but under your
Yeah,
brand.
yeah, 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 yeah. So
That's awesome, man.
no, it's cool. So I got some contacts and then reached out and had all the forms and had to do all the details. They are big pitches, but that is kind of what, getting for, like we have scaled up, really massively in the last 2, 3 years. We were in Diamond Comics. We're still in Diamond Comics in the UK. The US is still trying to like solve things with the UK between the US. So, but we're signing up retailers through the website now, and that people. So basically, we're really releasing our catalogs through there, and then Diamond has kind of gone defunct over there. So comic shops couldn't get hold of some of the series, so they're now reaching out to like, how do we get this? And then we go
Yeah,
direct with
yeah.
them now,
I was gonna say,
which is great, but it's not ideal. We want to be in as many shops as possible. So Lunar is,
if you're releasing so often, or like perfect,
yeah,
not
yeah,
necessarily perfect, but on schedule, have
yeah,
you tried to go through Lunar or whatever the normal US based ones
yeah.
are?
Luna's just not taking on at the moment. They're like so backed up. I think it's a stock issue. It's like kind of their warehouse is only so big and they can only stock so many books. So, if the big ones are releasing so many books a year, then they've only got so much capacity. And I think that's one of the issues. But yeah, we're ready to go, like to release, th 3, 4 titles a month. And obviously, um, because we were releasing some comics just direct to the comic shops last year. We weren't doing Kickstarters and stuff because things were going so well. But things, are still being consistent. As I say, since the start of this podcast, we still keep going and plowing on, and things will, you know, there's always better things around the corner that happen. So we'll figure
Oh
it out.
yeah, I mean, I foresee plenty. I mean, that's what's crazy about this whole industry is like, how does somebody that has exactly what the distributor needs, which is consistent, branded, well produced titles ready to go, and you are a warehouse distributor and you don't have space, even though there's a demand for it? Like, it's just like, how do we not have we have all the blocks, and no one can figure out how to piece them together. And then,
Mm,
like, there's other distributors out there like distribution. And it's like there's always some kind of hang up to where it's just like, why why can we not all figure this out? Like, there's clearly demand out there, on all sides, but it at least with it's like you're doing everything on your
mm.
end correctly. It's like
Yeah,
the pieces will fall together when
Yeah,
it comes to edit.
we'll be ready to go when we're called up. That's for sure.
That's really awesome. So what are you, I I guess are you still is the main thing that you're like getting people to join or on with Afterlight is through Kickstarter, or is it mainly through your website, or is the normal kind of machine sort of still the same as tried and true? Just Kickstarter is basically pre-orders, fulfill that, and then if they aren't along with that, they can get it on to your own website and stuff like that. And then through UK, they can still go through comic shops and certain ones. Is that kind of
Yeah.
the whole machine?
Yeah, so the model now is so obviously we have a Kickstarter every month. So it's like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, basically, and then 2 weeks on throughout that entire year.
And you do one
Um,
title at a time for
yeah,
Kickstarter?
yeah, one title at a time. Yeah, I think
Okay.
just if you do multiple issues, it just like people's budgets change. You're asking a bit more, and it's like that. Going back to that when I was doing that, trying to fund a 36 page issue for one. You got to think about your printing costs as well, and keeping things consistent and balanced on the balance sheet kind of thing. So new comic every month. And then, so Diamond UK is still shipping our books to UK comic stores, and we will occasionally drop a non-Kickstarter comic through that website. Sorry, through the UK comic shops and hopefully US comic shops in the future. Um, and then like we sold out of our series graphic novel called The Passenger of the U977, which is like based on a sub U-boat, and it's like a horror, psychological, claustrophobic one. And we're doing a hardback edition of that, and that's not Kickstarter, not through the comic shops, but that's just on our website. Um, so we use like Facebook ad marketing to get the word out about that one. So like because it's not on Kickstarter, it's not in a comic shop. We're gonna have to find our audience. Well, we got a newsletter, obviously our newsletter list, but we'll use Facebook marketing to bring in those kind of people to the website that have backed maybe bought Passenger in the past. So we do, like I say, it's multiple ways of releasing things because we have got that audience now. I would never probably do like a Kickstarter on the website kind of thing, but people are very happy to just like pre-order something on the website now, like 3 months in advance. Like if they see it, they'll just get it because you can see we've got reviews enabled on the website now. We can see like people like trust like verified reviews that people are buying and reviewing it, and can see we're real business behind the scenes, so that helps. Obviously I talked a lot earlier on like about trust and building that readership that way. So releasing things that way. Um, yeah, this, like I say, the slate is obviously busy as well. To do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off Kickstarter, like we have to have a lot of, you know, you know, in the pipeline, which we do. I'd love to have a second platform, like another profile on Kickstarter, but then it just gets complicated, like doing their own Kickstarter for that and then competing with each other, and then you got the shipping issues. So it's kind of 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, I think is a good way now. And then obviously I'd like to release direct to comic shops in the US and get numbers out again there as well, because that obviously helps with the business and bring an extra revenue stream it was when we were in the US shops.
I wonder, off, off camera or off the podcast, I'll talk to you more about details of that because I feel like there has to be a way to make that happen. Like,
Mm.
how are you not in comic shops in the U.S. is very confusing to me. Um, but as far as I have you had any titles that were sort of like breakout hits that continue to just have people come in to where you're just like, man, I just, this is the one that hooked them.
Yeah. The Passenger of the U977. I don't know if you've seen any of the artwork from that. It's like a watercolor. all watercolors, and the pages. Also, Browse, Diva Satanica was brilliant, just because like the art is just like off the chain. It's immense, and
How did that happen? Did you approach him? Did he approach you?
yeah, I approached Brown like 18 months prior, probably to now, and reached out to him. I was like, really, I seen his work online, and I was like seeing Diva Satanica, but it was in Brazilian language only. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
it'd be awesome to like try and translate and, try and get that because it just our audience would love it. Basically, that's my first thought when I'm like looking for things or scouting things. It's like, what would I like? And then yeah, they're gonna like that. So I reached out to Brown. He was like, we really appreciate you offering and reaching out, but it's currently tied up with another publisher. I was like, oh shit, man, that sucks. But yeah, I'll I'll reach out again, maybe in the future, and if it's still. And then he just popped up in my mind again, and I think probably like 2, 3 weeks prior to when he was on your podcast recently,
Oh.
I reached out to him again just to say, look, hope you're doing well, and is there any chance to revisit this? And he was like, yeah, the publisher's not responded or not talking to him, so let's do this. So it was a free agent kind of thing. So signed him up immediately, sorted everything out, and then we did a Kickstarter. Like, where I shifted like everything back to put the right at the front. And yeah, it was great, and I'm so glad we got that done. Brow's awesome, so yeah, really happy we got that, and people love it. And yeah, that's a popular one.
I mean, yeah, his artwork is like stunning to where it does like throw
Mm.
you back. But I mean, of all your titles, all of your stuff stands out. I'm looking at it now. Like Falling Awake has a crusher cover. I haven't
Mm.
read that one, but that looks. I mean, they really are all awesome.
So that
Um,
Fallen Awake by Jan Ditleff as well. He's worked on with Netflix. He's worked with Lego, Hitman games, and he had his book on Global Comics, and it's got like I'm sure it's got like eight. I don't know if it's 800,000. I'm sure it's 800,000 hits on Global Comics, views, reads.
whoa,
So yeah, I was like, reached out to him as well about, I seen that, and it's like there was no physical edition, so I was like, Jan, we make horror comics, and it's like the same approach with Brow, like I did a call with him, sold him on the idea of like basically when I was saying we were creator owned friendly, we're also like creator friendly in the sense like just get everything to us, and I say us, it's me. I'll just set everything up. You don't have to do anything. I can set up the bleeds, I can set up the spreads, the book design of how everything's gonna look, and you just sit back and take care of it. You'll get your proof copies, your royalties, and make sure it gets into everybody, as many people's hands as I can get it into, and that's basically the deal on that end. It's kind of just hands off, take it easy.
that's what are you? I don't want you to go into all the details or give too many people false hope, because it's crazy how there are a lot of people in the space that it's like you're actively looking for stuff to publish, and there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are like trying to get on with you. What are sort of your criteria to where you're like, here's what you need in order for me to take on your book? Does it have to
Yeah.
be completed or?
So the submissions pages on the Afterlight Comics and everything's detailed, like, but generally, I'm always looking for. Well, on the website it says you need 6 page minimum, like art finished, and then just give us an idea of the style, and then obviously the plot synopsis. If it's a series, a one shot, if it's finished, and basically. Yeah, at any stage, it is in from that, as in 6 page minimum, would be interested to look at and then see ways in which at the time that can support either the creators or in whatever way, like sometimes you can offer letter and services as well, to take care of and obviously the book design and things like that. Um yeah, and there's things that we can make to like make it appealing for both parties to, get their books published, basically.
Do you have a general um I don't know why I can't think of the term, but like a Afterlight versus creator split, or is it sort of on an individual basis? Do you have
Uh,
sort of a standard of like, here's how we split up the royalties?
yeah, it's just like a standard royalty split between the publisher and the creator, and they will get that flat rate based on the royalties that the copies that we sell. It depends in terms of how big or if it's a series, if there'll be advances as well that we can do with the creators to help. That's more on a if the series is complete kind of thing. Most of the time,
Yeah, yeah.
you're gonna go with us, and you're new to us, and it's like kind of it's difficult to put faith in when this space
No,
is
yeah, that
you
makes
know what I
sense.
mean?
It's I don't know of any comic publisher that's ever like funded a comic before it was finished kind of story. But I hear like everybody wants that to be like,
Yeah.
I send them sort of my pitch, and then they go, here's a certain amount of money to make the book,
Mm.
and then split the royalties. It's like, no, in the end, it's like they might, at best, they'll agree to publish it, you are responsible for completing it, and then you'll
Mm.
split a profit share, and you're basically getting access to their built-in audience. Like that's what
Mm.
you're essentially paying for, or giving them your slice for, is for their audience because you don't
Yeah.
have one. And
Yeah.
but that's what's interesting about you is like you've been able to make it appealing to the people that have audiences already and talent. So
Mm.
it's like when you combine those together, to when you can get someone like Brow and you get the game developers and like just really talented creators that already have an established following, not necessarily to their stories, but to them as a person. It's like you combine the talent and their audience, and then your audience that's the readers, like the people that want a specific thing. That's what's missing in comics is what you're having is like you have an audience that's dedicated to a person or to like a um maybe a brand, but not but they're just dedicated to that. They're not dedicated to a genre or like a certain subset of a genre like yours, where it's like we release high quality horror, like and I would argue high concept, like it's like it's just very appealing from A to B. So your readers want that. They don't care about who the creator is behind it or even necessarily you. Like they're not there for you, they're there for the product. And that
Mm.
product, it can then different creators can fill in that product. It's like if a creator is a chef, it's like you figured out who eats cheeseburgers, and then you just hire chefs that make different kinds of cheeseburgers. Like the and so, but that's not normally what happens. So it's like we actually don't have always, I have an audience that's dedicated to me or one title that I've released. They're not dedicated to the genres or whatever or anything that I write. And I don't have an audience that's like, oh, here's everybody that's into sci-fi. If I can get on with that publisher, I'm good there.
Mm.
You have that for your niche. So it's like,
Mm.
it has we have all the winning combinations there. So it's just like now you can the creators that are of the quality are going to want to go there. And then anybody that's new to the space, it's like if you can build up and create the quality specs that are necessary, you can break in as well. So it's like it's a perfect win-win of both worlds of established creators and new creators, all because you built the brand that works for the readers.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like you say, it's not just established creators as well. There's a new creator called Paulie Wenger. He just released Devil's Mint with us, and it's like a one-shot, 22-page comic. It's on the website as well. And that's his first comic as well, and the quality is all there. And I love it's a tight story as well, and it's a one-shot, so that worked great. So I'm not looking for people to have tens of thousands of followers or things like that you hear in the movie industry now as well, where they're not looking for the best actor or actress. Sometimes they're looking with the one with the good amount of Instagram followers to help with the numbers of that
Unfortunately,
kind
yeah.
of vibe. I'm not about that. Because I know if we put something quality and we put like a good story in front of the readers, they'll take to it, and that's what matters the most. And again, I go back to it all the time. If you can keep putting good horror comics in readers' hands, they're gonna come wanting to come back for more. So I think that's the main target, really.
That's that's awesome. I was gonna say, there's a lot that I want to talk to you about offline, but what do you want to shout out to my audience? What kind of was there sort of any tips that you learned along the way that you're like, I wish whenever I was watching YouTube videos, somebody had told me A and B. Do you have that for us?
Yeah, I have so much of that, but I'll try and keep it short enough for you. The main thing for me, like thing with, like I was saying to you at the beginning, with Ghost Island, not doing a 100 issue series or not thinking you're going to do an ongoing series. I would either do an anthology of short stories, maybe before you do a full pivot series based in that world. So like maybe you've got this grand idea of like a sci-fi or something. Maybe do like a few short stories of based on the concept of this world, based on a few of the characters, and then if like a pit almost like a pitch packet, but not like framed as a pitch packet, but if people like it and then you gives you an idea or a taste that there's an audience for this, to then expand it into like, oh, this is a series based on this anthology. You got a taste of this world, and maybe you're going to go into this and enjoy this too. Sort of like maybe like a Black Mirror kind of short stories kind of, and that's the kind of vibe I'm thinking. And also like the importance of the newsletter, you know, is so important because it's the only thing that's not judged by an algorithm so far. An email still goes directly to someone's inbox no matter what. And obviously a presence online is important, but trying to get those newsletters with comic samples or, you know, at conventions or flyers or just talking to other creators and maybe doing collaborations and things. But if ever st to start again, I would do an anthology as my first book based on short stories, maybe in the genre niche that I want to do. Work with four different artists, make those connections with the artist. Then you're also getting some trust and a feel for these artists. Like they can meet the deadline, you're getting some quality work before you commit to a long series with them and they drop out because, well, you've never done anything with them before, and this is kind of how they manage their time, and maybe it's not the best, and then you just get burnt out. And then also, like I said before as well, honing your craft with those like short stories, like having to tell a full contained story in like 6 pages or 5 pages is difficult, but it will make you a better writer, over time, like when it comes to trying to nail a cliffhanger in an issue, because you've got everything like kind of tight and pacing. You can do it in a 6 page, you can do it in a 24 now. Not like me when I was doing 48 pages for the first issue because you just get carried away. So yeah, I think that those are the two biggest tips that will save you money, and make you, if from a writer perspective, get you better at the craft for comic writing, and also like if you are you going to enjoy this? Will you enjoy it? Like instead of like committing to like this grand series that people probably get excited and will do, and then by issue 3, it's like, oh, shit, this has costed so much money. The audience isn't there, like just starting off small and just like organically grow yourself and your creative career in that space without like not everyone might want to do this as a job, might just want to do it in on the side. But also keeping your sanity whilst doing it. Like people have lives, wives, children, and just having the time to do it and just like not burning yourself out doing it like that. So I think if I was to go back in 2018 or whatever it was, pat myself on the back and tell me just slow down and just even start off small.
You say that now, but I think it was going all 100% in is what separated you from the rest.
Yeah,
But
you
then
know,
again, like you survive by the skin of your teeth, not burning
yeah,
yourself out. That's the thing
yeah,
is that
mm,
so many people, and I told this on another podcast with a Canadian creator, Adrian Kaleric. Whenever I very first started writing comics, one of the first uh, artists I reached out to, and I don't want to say their name, they're very active in comics now,
yeah,
but I reached out to them and I was like, "Hey, I love your artwork. I saw you did this book, um, and I have the script if you're willing to do it." And he said something along the lines of, "If I have to do another comic book, I might kill myself." Or like something like that, where it was basically just like, I think I'm done with comics forever, and if I
mm,
keep doing this, I will like have to, like I'll end my life if this is my life. Um, but
Jesus.
in hindsight, after talking to him again, it's like it wasn't quite that extreme, but I took it as like, whoa, because it then like understood that it was sort of like they were overwhelmed with work and like we're not getting anything out of it. And there's like a ton of creators that's what happens is you either do too much and you're just like trying to get more work, so you're accepting a lower page rate, especially an artist. You're kind of like worried. It's like you have like different levels of extreme to where you're getting so many offers for work that you have to basically up your price and then like be like, well, I'm 300 a page and you'll have to wait till next year kind of thing. Or you're like worried about your next job. So you're like, I'm almost done with this one. So I'll take this one on. But they're sort of weird. They're like, I can only afford this amount. And then you're like, it's all weird. And then that's why the artists end up ghosting the writers. They don't mention, there's plenty of writers that say they were ghosted by artists. But I also talked to artists on the other end. And it's like, those writers weren't exactly there either or giving
Mm,
very clear understandings about, and that's my advice to people is like make pay clear up front. It's like
mm,
you're either paying people a certain amount per month, a certain amount up front, or a very specific amount on the back end, or you make it clear that there's nothing up front and it's only back end profits, and that might be zero. Like because there's that's how you like burn yourself out is like having issues and relationship issues with other creators and money concerns that everyone thinks that someone else owed him money, where it's like you either should have made it more clear up front that like I'm paying you this certain amount or whatever. And because it can just get so confusing and so heartbreaking when we all realize that like there really isn't any money on the back end, and it's a lot of hard work to get it up to the specs that the professional publishers, which now includes you, to get it up
mm.
to those specs. Um, so anyway,
Yeah, I'm super
what?
passionate about that. Like all the artists that I work with, to bring our stories to life, kind of thing. Just paying them promptly. As soon as the finished pages come in and all that. I've always been like that. And just, they pour everything into the pages. So you need to, you know, as well as doing what I do, is remaining professional and being professional, and people wanting to work with us, at the end of the day. Um, so that's what I want to pride myself on as well. Like people want to come to us and you know work with us or read with read with us. One of those two.
Yeah, for sure. You're very professional. Well
Appreciate it.
done. Um, before I press off to the record button,
Awesome.
anything you want to highlight? Anything that I mean, whenever this goes live, I'm sure you'll either have the next campaign either live or currently. What's the next thing coming out?
It's called Diefenbach, and it's like a medieval folk horror graphic novel, and it's by a Polish artist. He also worked on a video game called the Runa, which is one of my favorite PC games. It's awesome. It's like a cyberpunk kind of video game, and he did this graphic novel, and it is very cool. It's black and white, very like sketchy, rough inks, and yeah, I can't wait to bring that out. We'll have that ready. God, what are we in now? The Kickstarter will be in March, and then we'll have it ready for April. and it's like 100 pages graphic novel.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. So you're doing a Kickstarter for like graphic novels or like a
Oh yeah.
multiple issues, issues 1 through 3 of a certain series and stuff like that. That so your
Yeah.
people are getting full stories whenever they back any individual campaign
A lot of the time, yeah. So
most of the time.
we still do single issues. We just finished one for penultimate issue in a 4 issue series, which is supernatural horror. Um, but yeah, sometimes, yeah, full graphic novels.
Nice, man. Yeah, I got plenty of people that I can I can send your way.
Yeah, yeah, please do.
That but
Awesome.
thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, Max. Appreciate it.